Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on The Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus Sides podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to The Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together, because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus Sides podcast. You're not alone. It's next. How you doing, ladies?
Good. How are you?
Today we are joined by Sabrina and Kat and Kim, because that's me. But it's
That's
just
Kim.
we're shaking up. We're doing different things. We like different perspectives. So, if you're new here, hey, I'm Kim. Where you been? We've been looking for you. We're in our third season. What's happening?
Just come on inside. Sit a spell.
Come on in. We're so glad to have you. But here's what we do here. So we all leverage a GLP-1 medication for different health reasons. Many of us from due to insulin resistance, obesity, PCOS, type 2 diabetes, yada, 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 many, many things. And soon, and this just in, which like this will come out after this, but now it's been approved to treat heart, right? Cardiovascular.
Yeah, cardiovascular.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. Like preventative
Very
stuff. It's amazing. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
It's so exciting. So I'm excited about like all the science and all the nerdy things in the land.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All
But
the nerdy things.
we all take them for different reasons. I've lost, I've been at this 18 months. I've lost 100 pounds. I've taken all of them because of shortages and because of stupid ass insurance and step therapy and all the things. I'm blessed to be able to take them at all. I just want everybody to have it, and I want everybody to feel as good as I feel. And when I learned that, that I wasn't alone and there were all these people that struggled like I did. And I also learned, because the food noise turned off like a switch, that it wasn't my fault, and I was able to forgive myself. I just became a GLP-1 evangelist. Hallelujah. And the plus sides was born. Do you like my thumb
Pastor
ring?
Kim. Yeah.
Pastor Kim. Yes. Anyway, that's me. Sabrina, who are you? Why are you here? What's going on? What's happening? Who are you? Who are you? What's happening?
I'm Sabrina. I've been on Mounjaro since the end of June of 2023. I'm a type 2 diabetic, and with utilizing the medication and lifestyle changes and all that, I'm down 62 pounds. So
Yes, girl.
thank you. Thank you.
Huzzah. Huzzah. What about you, Kat? Who are you? What you doing? Why are you here?
I'm Kat Carter, and you can find me on the TikTok,
TikTokery?
on the Tickety Talk over there at Kat Carter 7. I leverage Mounjaro like a good Midwesterner because I just came from Minnesota.
Oh.
Don't you know?
Don't you?
Since Saturday. And I said I've lost 70 pounds on Mounjaro. And to celebrate Carolina's win over Duke, yes, I decided to try on an old shirt of mine from school.
Oh,
And it fits.
NSV, boo, from
Here
school, from
comes
college.
Carolina. Here comes Carolina. Yep,
Oh,
let's go Tar Heels.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal, Kat.
That's an NSV. That's something for when you do Serena's Live on Friday. You pop in.
Yeah.
Talk about
Yeah.
it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
2002, I think, is when I bought either 2002 or 2001.
I love
One of those last years at Carolina. I don't know. Everything's a blur. And it wasn't because of the college drinking. I was just working third shift,
Yeah.
going to school. Like it was a blur.
That's a
But
lot.
anyway, I fit this sucker again.
Huzzah! That is a big
Okay.
NSV boot. That is a good one. I like it. I like it a lot.
Heck yeah.
It's good. Well, we're glad to have you all here with us. Yay. We do have cool news that we'll just, I guess, announce here because we haven't announced it yet. The views are bad on TikTok right now. We just got an award for Podcast of the Year, Health Podcast of the Year from the American Writers Association, which is huge. So we
That's
are now an award-winning podcast.
So every time you
How
crack open the
kick-ass is
microphone,
that?
Tim,
That's
award-winning
amazing.
podcast, the plus side.
Oh, you'd be like this?
Award-winning podcast.
The award-winning podcast, the plus sides. Getting loud and changing things. Give people their medicine. All right, that's all.
Yep, all the things. All the things.
All the things. Okay, so now what we do, if you're new here, which you may be, is we invite on a member of the community. And what we mean by that is anybody that struggles with any of these diseases or disorders and takes these medications to share their story. So today we have Pamela. And then we will also have a obesity specialist join us too to help us understand why we're experiencing these things and what's happening with all the science and the facts and the data and all things. Okay,
Yeah.
Here we go. Hey, Pamela.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to share my story. Love this. Love you guys. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited too. When I tagged a bunch of times because I've been following you for a long time. Not because of the Wegovy thing, just because I like your content. And like completely unrelated. And then one day you were like, listen, I gotta tell you something. Like, I'm on Wegovy and I kind of love it. It's kind of awesome for your brain. And like, let me tell you why. And I was like, do you want to come on the podcast?
Yeah.
And I did it like a few times because like you're a pretty big creator and I get lost in there, you know? And then one day you saw it and I was like, whoa. So that is why you're here.
Yes, sometimes people get lost in my DMs, so I'm very glad I found you.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I didn't realize that until I got to a certain size. Like the DM losing of people is very, very easy with all the inboxes and the I can't keep up. I really can't. So that's why I just started like going in and like tagging people and like tagging the podcast and like trying to get people's attention that way if I could. But I finally got you. Yay!
That's
Now I'm here.
The sugar daddies and all the bots that said,
there are a
Oh
lot
my
of
gosh.
There's
Hello,
so
you are
much
beautiful.
of that. It's
Hello, you are
wild.
beautiful.
many sugar daddies.
Will you send me
Take
nude?
them up on it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because like Lydia, I was gonna tell you because it's funny. So my husband, because he's a man, he's got tons of people following him. And I was like, and I made a joke one day. I was like, actually, those are all, ladies of the night. And and then I was like, so because we were like, oh, you could do TikTok shop if you have like 5,000, but it turns out they're just all like sort of like same idea as like the sugar daddy, right? But they're trying to be all, I don't know, sugar mama, ladies of the night situation. And my Lydia, my bestie Lydia, who does like the editing and stuff for the podcast and social media. She told my husband, she was like, John, I'm gonna need you to send those ladies of the night over here because I need to get to 10,000 so I can work with brands. I was like let's spread the ladies of the night around. I mean, like there are just so many. It's crazy.
Yes, so many.
So I would love for you to tell us a little bit about like why I would love to know, like just like personally, like why you're on TikTok and like what kind of content you make. And like I love that we have your name there so they can follow you. But I just really like your content and I would love people to know about it.
Well, I started on TikTok as the mostess, like the hostess with the mostess. I was doing like food preparation and cheese boards. I used to make meat and cheese boards. And then I wasn't getting any traction. Literally no one was watching. And on a whim, I did kind of a roundup of everything that had happened on TikTok over the year. A couple years ago. Yes. And I did it like from the millennial perspective, from an elder millennial perspective, and kind of translating the TikTok trends. And it took off. It went super viral, millions of views. I was like, ooh, I better do something with this. So I gathered some followers and I've been collecting followers ever since. I cannot niche down. I talk about everything. I talk about hot topics. I continue to do monthly updates on what the trends are.
Mhm.
And I talk about my personal life, and I talk about my journey with Wegovy. And TikTok had such a huge part in that, because everything I learned about semaglutide medications, I learned from TikTok. And it was so like essential in my journey. It was such a huge part of my journey, like being able to see the, firsthand accounts of people's experiences. And I'm a really like health anxious person, and I'm really trepidatious on any medication and starting anything like that. So the fact that I learned enough to feel confident to go into my doctor's office and ask for it was huge for me, and
Yeah.
it was life changing. I mean, I'm so happy. I feel so much validated by you. I just want to spread the word far and wide at what a difference this stuff can make in your life. I love it.
Yes, you're a GLP-1 evangelist. That's what I
She
heard.
is.
Hallelujah.
In the church.
Awesome. Thank you so much for giving that rundown. Yeah, if you could tell us, like, I mean, we're gonna just be quiet because we really like to give people the opportunity. We call it unfiltered, uncut, and uninterrupted, because Kat and I are like, we're like conversationalists, so we tend to be like, oh, really? Oh, and then like we'll never get
Oh,
anything
yeah.
done. So we want you to have like that opportunity. So we're just gonna be quiet now, and you just tell us what you want to tell us, whatever it is.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, it's kind of dangerous to give me that freedom because I can talk for a long time. But I'll tell you my quick story of Wegovy and how I got started. So I, like many people, I've been overweight or obese my whole life. I remember getting on my bike and sneaking to like the gas station to buy Slim Fast shakes when I was like 8. And I was also a dancer. So, and I love dance. That was my passion. And I was pretty darn good at it, but I was always overweight. And that was always a problem for my passions and what I was pursuing. So there was never a moment in my life where I didn't think about it. And, a lot of this got passed down from my mom. My mom was a serial dieter, obsessed with food. And I continued to dance. So I was very athletic. So I was always overweight, never dealt with obesity until probably in the last 15 years. And then I started to have kids. My hormones got out of whack. I had another child. My hormones got really out of whack. And then I kind of decided, because I dieted my whole life, I kind of decided to start to be an intuitive eater. And not with the intention to lose weight, but with the intention to become more body positive and comfortable in my skin and not thinking about dieting all the time. And I'm so glad that I got to that place before I started Wegovy, because I could see how it would be a slippery slope of like compulsive eating, or never feeling satisfied, always wanting to lose more if I was still in the place where I had been, like, say 10 years ago. So the place where I was happy and settled at 233 pounds. And I was obese, and my doctors didn't like it, but I didn't mind it. I was still moving. I was hiking. I was playing with my kids. I definitely had knee pain. I definitely had inflammation. But I didn't really understand how much it was affecting me until I started the medication. So I learned about the medication on TikTok. I decided to ask my doctor for Wegovy because every year at my yearly checkup, she would offer me a stimulant based medication. And I was never comfortable starting that. I was never comfortable going on those medications. I really, as like a neurodivergent person, I never felt like those would work for me. So I told her about Wegovy. And we were on the computer together Googling it, and we really didn't think my insurance would carry it, but it was approved because I was obese, my BMI, because of my husband's insurance plan. He works for a major company. I think he works for FedEx. He's a corporate attorney for FedEx, and FedEx does offer all of their employees access to Wegovy if you meet a certain criteria. I did not have any diagnosed health issues besides an occasional high blood pressure reading, and I did have high blood pressure at the end of both of my pregnancies. So it was always something in the back of my mind, always something I was thinking about, obsessing about, being anxious about. Um, and so we looked it up. It was available, and she was like, "Let's try it." She was like, "What dose should we do?" And I was like, "Well, I looked it up on TikTok, and I need to start here, and I need to go up and titrate up and do all the things." So I started it, and immediately I felt the effects on my dopamine receptors. I thought I had turned dumb. I was like, are people dumb? Because my brain had stopped moving as fast as it had been before. And that's the food noise, which I didn't realize. I was just, it's like my brain stopped. And I was like, oh, I don't, and I was really uncomfortable with that feeling at first. I would say for the first 3 weeks, I thought, I am not taking my next shot. I was uncomfortable. I, I felt my digestion stop. It was like a train had been chugging along and it was like, my digestion just completely stopped, and I was like, "Oh, that's not good," because I was somebody who went to the bathroom. I relieved myself. I pooped like 4 times a day or 5 sometimes. I mean, I would eat and I would poop, and I would eat and I would poop, and I was never full, and my stomach was always empty, and that was just who I was. I was not, uh I was an emotional eater at times, but that wasn't my thing. I wasn't a binge eater. I was someone who was never, ever full. And um, so anyway, my digestion felt like it stopped. I was like, this can't be good. Of course, I looked up on TikTok. I joined all the Facebook groups. I started my regimen of magnesium, um, probiotics, and fiber. I started drinking more water. I tried to add more protein and more fiber, but I didn't change my diet at all. It was sticking to that intuitive eating, just trying to add things. So add more fiber, add more protein, and of course, I felt a huge effect on hunger, a huge impact on desire for alcohol. Alcohol has never really agreed with me, and I have a history of alcoholism in my family, so I've always been really careful. But when I started Wegovy, I really stopped drinking alcohol as much. Anyway, so I stayed on it. I lost really, really slowly. And I got up to the 1.7 dose, and that's what I'm still on. I've been on it for a year. I've lost 50 pounds. I'm currently still technically obese. I don't know what's going to happen to my insurance when I'm not obese anymore. But I feel it's so funny because I don't really want to lose any more weight. I feel so much more, I feel better with my dopamine receptors. I don't feel the need for alcohol. I don't feel the need for compulsive shopping. I spend a lot less money at Target, at H&M, at Costco. I spend less money on things I don't need. I've felt such a big difference on that like dopamine seeking behavior. The first thing I thought was I don't want to send a strongly worded email. I lost the desire to send a strongly worded email, like to have that quick reaction to things, and like some kind of drama happened and I was like, "Huh, I don't this isn't bothering me the way that it used to." Now, since I've been on it for a whole year and I've been on this dose for a really long time, I do think those effects have worn off a little bit. And I'm not losing any more weight. The last time I went to my doctor, she suggested I go up to the highest dose. And I just thought, I'm so happy with where I am right now. I don't want to put any pressure on myself and my body. I'm pooping once a day. Like I've lost 50 pounds, I'm maintaining it. And the biggest difference I felt is my mom passed away pretty unexpectedly in October. And going through this journey of grief, which has been devastating, without the added shame of and obsession over dieting and weight loss and gaining weight. You go through these big events in your life and you assume that you'll gain weight, or that's how my body has responded every other time, and not gaining weight and not having to think about that while I go through this grief journey has, I think, it's taken such a huge weight off. And also when my mom died, she was, in her hospital bed, not doing well. She had an infection, and there was one day of the like 10 days she was in the hospital, she was allowed to eat, and she was still obsessing over what she was putting in her body. And we all knew that things weren't looking good, and she was still thinking, "Oh, I don't want to have the chocolate pudding even though it looks good." And I was just thinking, I cannot believe that she is going to take this shame to her grave, and that I had witnessed her throughout her whole life carry this shame. And it's really, and then so I've been really processing the shame and the release of shame once I started this medication, and it has trickled into every single part of my life. And I feel so free from the shame. And they talk about how Wegovy these GLP-1 medications are bad for body positivity. I think the opposite. I judge people for their body size so much less now that I've experienced that there is no like more fat and less fat and more, you know, and bad eater and good eater. There's no, it's a medical issue. There's no more diabetic and less diabetic. There's no, there it's just we all, if we have it, we have it. We should be treating it. It should be available to us to treat. So I made a funny TikTok, and I was actually picked up by Nightline about losing friends. And there were a lot of circumstances that led to like me leaving a friend group situation. But I really think this like radical freedom of shame and the amount of respect I have for myself, the fact that I'm not people pleasing as much, the fact that they can't categorize me in the way that they used to. I exist in a different sphere to them now, which I think is a lot for them to handle, which I feel great. There were a lot of things, but that contributed to this friend shakeup, especially my mom dying. You reevaluate your priorities, but I definitely think that losing weight in the way that I did without the experience of shame kind of changed everything about my life. And on a lighter note, I feel like I have access to all the clothes in my closet that I've been hoarding for 20 years. And it feels great. And I kind of feel like that's a good roundup. I don't know what's next for me. Like I said, I don't know if my insurance will cover it once I get below, 179 pounds. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to go up to the next dose. I don't know what my long-term plan for maintenance is. But for right now, for the year, it has been life-changing, and I am preaching it to the world. I love it.
Oh, that was so epic. Damn, girl. I'm just making that whole thing a short. That was perfect.
Not very short.
Yeah.
My kind of short.
Yeah.
I love it. That was so great. I was
Mhm.
like, all the things you were saying, I was like, because I know about your mom, and I saw the friends group one too. And like, I think a lot of us can kind of relate to that. I remember you saying you had something similar with that when you had decided to, I think, stop. You're pretty open about it, Sabrina. I can cut it if you're not, but drinking with like your friends and that group changing.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that like, it's interesting though. I got everything you said. Just like, I was like, y'all, everybody here knows me, and anybody watching is like, Kim's going to explode. Cause that's exactly, it's like the same type of experience. I mean, and like the reduction, not just in like the food noise. It's funny, cause you said, you were like, oh, did I just go stupid or something? But like for me, I was like, is this what normal feels like? Is it supposed to be that quiet in here? Like, because it's incredible. Like I think, like you said, like it's medical. It all comes down to being medical, and I think that there's so much misinformation out there, which I'm glad that you're talking about it, because it's like the amount of people that are like, hey, your butthole is gonna fall out if you take this, like that they think that, and or
It's pretty darn close. Gastroparesis, butthole
Okay.
falling out.
But I mean, clearly the gastroparesis and the butthole falling out, similar. But like, that's the thing, is like those are such rare possibilities, but because this medicine is used for, and I'm going society, because y'all know I'm trying to think about the big picture. Fat people trying to get skinny, right? Like that's what they see. Because it's used that way, I feel like that then people have to talk about the side effects. But any other time with any other medication, nobody gives a crap. Like nobody cares about side effects or everything else. But it goes back to like what we're hearing a lot, which is sort of like the social currency of being thin, and like what that does and what that threatens. And we talk about like all of those things here. Then I would say like it's a little bit different for Sabrina was thin the majority of her life, right? And then Kat and I have always been tall and large. Like we've been dealing with obesity since children. And Kat, like you, was also very active. And I was too, not to the level that Kat is. Like she was very sportsy. I was just like an average athlete doing a bunch of different stuff, but it wasn't like I was great at anything, But like there's that whole eat less,
Wasn't that
move
great
more.
either.
You weren't that great either? You just did it a lot?
I was good at jogging. I don't know. I just wanted to be on
jogging.
sports, but I was never like fantastic. I
just average. Yeah.
I was great at shot put, which is
I
hilarious.
bet. Oh, I bet you are.
Was fantastic
Yes.
shot put. Everything else,
Yeah.
I
Meh.
I was there for the conditioning, I guess, and
Yeah.
the camaraderie.
Yeah. Well, hey, I like that.
Well,
Plus
I
it's
was a
an
fabulous
alliteration.
dancer. I was a
Right.
great dancer.
You
Fed
should
is
post some videos of you dancing. You gotta have them
Oh,
somewhere.
it's in there. It's in there. It's hidden.
I haven't seen it. Oh, I want to see it. I'm gonna go after this. I'm gonna be like to look for it. Well, that is awesome. I think I think what I want people to understand, from the podcast and what I've been trying to do since the beginning is like just to want to like, of course, like talk to the doctor, right? Um, and and to also like understand that there's so many like mental benefits to this. Like,
Yes.
it's I mean it's my so like I talk about it a little bit, but like my mom is caring for my sister who's been very, very sick with cancer and then had to have a liver transplant. And she's been on Ozempic, because genetics, right? And she's been like, since I got to 1 milligram, like of Ozempic, which we know is the same as Wegovy, she's like, I'm really surprised at like how together I'm keeping it. And I'm like, yeah,
All
right.
right, mom.
Like,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I am too. I am too, because she's been there for months dealing with this like
Mm.
horrendous thing, right? Um, and it is amazing. It is amazing. What I feel like I've been able to accomplish in the 18 months that I've taken these. It really is. Like I look at the things I do and I'm like Kim before me could barely handle one job and a family, and now I've got all these hustles and all these things that I do and the podcast and advocacy and activism and all these different things. And I'm like, how in the world? And people say all the time, Kim, how do you do it? I'm like, I take a GLP-1. I think be like super fun. 'Cause that's all I got,
You also
you
have
know?
like this like unmatched, like, passion. Like your passion is like,
Right.
Yeah. I care very much. I care very, very much.
mm,
I don't,
passion.
I can't stand, honestly,
More
I
passion,
can't
more
stand
passion, more
more
footwork, more,
energy, more
more
energy.
energy.
But I really can't stand seeing people suffer needlessly.
Right.
It when I know.
Doesn't make sense,
And you
right? I
and
mean,
you don't know until you take it. That's what's so crazy. And I know that
Mhm.
sounds really culty, but you really don't know until you try.
It's so true, though. I mean,
Right?
I heard
Yeah.
about it, right? But then when I finally took my first
Yeah.
injection and it was like a light switch, I
Like
was
a
like,
light switch.
it
You
was
were like, this is how it's supposed to be. They better look out. We coming. I'm just saying, you know,
Yeah.
like, can you think about it too? Like, I feel like, and this is like a super big opinion, but I just feel like I've never met a fat person that's lazy. Like I've never met somebody. They're almost, I mean, like, are they sick? Are they tired? Are they those things? Yeah.
yeah.
But the fact that they constantly are trying to get up and do it again and constantly getting back on the diet,
Mhm.
constantly getting back on the treadmill. When they fall, they take a break and then they get up and they do it again. They're the most like tenacious people. And I feel like now that you're making us better, like you should look out.
Mhm.
Because sick people need
100%.
medicine, and I just think it's important. And so that's what we fight for here. And thank you for contributing to the conversation with us. And we like to bring on a medical professional because, frankly, like I really do think that people in this country specifically are like they're very obsessed with weight. And so when they hear like, oh, it's a podcast of just people telling their story, no, like because then they say it as like, oh, that's just fat people whining, fat people complaining, fat people crying, whatever. But that's not what it is. And so how do you keep from being ignored, right? And that's you
Mhm.
validate it. Hey, Plus Siders. We're so glad that you were able to tune in for part 1 of the episode. Part 2 will be posted next week. We look forward to seeing you then. Have a great week. And remember, you're not alone. It's not your fault. Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus Sides podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together, because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus Sides Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault.